I'm Krithika. I'm an artist and I live in Brooklyn, New York. I make large-scale abstract and botanic paintings. I would describe my art as contained chaos that's never-ending. I use a lot of layers, a lot of interconnected marks and repetitive marks to kind of get that feeling of chaos that's contained. And by never ending, I mean there's always going to be something new to look at when you go back to the painting, whether it's a detail you missed before or like a mark you didn't spot. Kind of like art that keeps on giving. I would say I find inspiration from two main sources. The first one is just botanic elements, anything plants, nature. The other source of inspiration is my clients themselves and their stories. My commission process is very collaborative. I always ask my clients if there's anything they want to add in there that's symbolic. So for example, I added a barley plant to one of the paintings because the client's dog's name was Barley. So just things like that. So a piece of work I worked on recently was this beautiful story that a client shared with me about their journey and self-discovery through a difficult time. I took all the details that they shared with me and transferred it into this big 5 by 6 foot painting. So if you look at the painting, you'll see flora and botanics blooming all over the painting. And that basically represents my client's decision to bloom and grow in the face of this difficult situation. I think it's very important to trust the products I'm using. When I'm working on a piece, my energy is focused on bringing the client's story to life. So all my mental and emotional energy is to get that interpretation right for them. It's just me and the products in here, so they're like my teammates. It's really important for me to know that my teammates have my back, that they'll do what they say they'll do, and that they're as invested in this as I am. I love basic acrylic fluids because it has such a creamy glide to it. I also work with really large canvases, so it cuts down the time I take to cover the canvas by like almost half because it flows so well and can go all over the canvas really fast. I also do like laying product down directly on the canvas from the bottle it comes in. So I use my fingers a lot. I use like tools from the kitchen. I use a butter knife, spatulas to lay paint down, and the fluid works so well with that. It gives an even layer and it also lets me lay the paint down with control, which I love. And I love that it has a satin finish. So I add a lot of marks to my layers, and because it has a satin finish, it kind of doesn't overpower and it kind of lets the marks on top shine. So I really like it as a base for my paintings. The advice I'd like to share with new artists is something that actually helped me a lot. It's called the 70-20-10 rule. 70% of what you're going to create is going to be mediocre. 20% is going to be really bad, it's going to suck. And 10% is going to be really good. So the point here is take the pressure off to create something amazing every time you sit to paint. It's not about the output, so don't take the output too seriously. The goal is to keep creating. The more you make, the more creative success you're going to have. That really helps me take the pressure off when I'm stuck in a process or when I'm too concentrated on how the end product is going to look. I think the biggest way my process has evolved is I trust my decisions a lot more. Early on, I used to get disheartened by things that I used to think were mistakes. But I realized that the techniques I would use to cover up these mistakes were actually really cool. And they kind of started becoming like signature elements that I would use in all my paintings. I think I make a lot more bolder decisions because I'm not afraid anymore.